Shalom, my friends. I've got a quick update for you before the weekend hits to remind you that this weekend is Pentecost. That is the Feast of Weeks. Pentecost, also known as Shavuot, begins at sunset tomorrow. That's Saturday, May 23rd, and ends at sunset on Monday, May 25th. This commemorates Abba Father's fourth fulfilled Moedim. If you don't know what that word is, that's Yahweh's Kodesh appointment. This is his fourth fulfilled Kodesh appointment with mankind. There are 4 spring Moedim, Kodesh appointments that the Father has with mankind. The 4 spring Moedim, again, they've been all fulfilled. They are all prophecies about Yeshua's first coming. And this, Pentecost, being the final spring Moed, where he sends his Ruach HaKodesh, his Spirit, to gather the called out ones. Now, there are 3 autumn Moedim that are yet to be fulfilled. The 3 autumn Moedim are all commemorating the second coming of Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, if you're not familiar with the 7 Moedim, I have a video. You'll see this graphic here, and you'll see this graphic at the very end of this video. You can click on that, and that'll take you over to my video, which explains all 7 Moedim. Then also, here's another graphic. You'll see this also at the very end of this video. That'll take you over to Scotty's website, ERFMinistries.com, and at the end of this video you can click on this graphic, and that'll take you directly to his page about Pentecost. Now, you can back up if you want, and you can continue going forward. He covers all 7 feasts there at ERFMinistries.com as well. And of course, below this video, in the more info section, I'll also have these 2 links for you. One will take you over to my video about Yahweh's 7 Moedim. The other one will take you over to ERFMinistries.com, where you can do some more research there. And by the way, I know a lot of you are wondering about Scotty. He has finally found a place that he can move into, and that's what he's doing this week and next. And as soon as he gets himself settled over there, he's got to set all his equipment back up and everything. You'll be seeing regular videos from him because he'll be able to work. He's not been able to work where he's been living, like the past year or so. And that's why you haven't seen a whole bunch on his YouTube channel. But he'll be resuming that. Now again, this weekend, starting tomorrow at sundown, that's Saturday, all the way through until Monday at sundown, is the Remembering Pentecost. This is a wonderful Moed, Kodesh appointment Abba had with everyone, and it will be celebrated, throughout, all the way, eternally. But for this weekend, I think a very cool custom is to read the book of Ruth during this Moed. The story about the marriage of Ruth, the Gentile bride, to Boaz, the kinsman redeemer. In the story of Ruth, we see prophecy. There is the kinsman redeemer, that's Boaz, which represents Yeshua. He is the kinsman redeemer that we see in Revelation. You had to be a kinsman of Adam or Adam in order to open those scrolls. In Ruth, again, prophecy, we see the Gentile bride. That's Ruth. And that refers to the called out ones. Most Bibles say church. Really, it should say called out ones. Then also we see the widow. Naomi is the widow in that story, and that represents Israel. Sometimes referred to, or Yahweh sometimes refers to her, to Israel rather, as his widow. Then there's a liaison. There's an unnamed servant who acts as liaison in the story of Ruth, and the Ruach HaKodesh is also known as the unnamed servant. There in the book of Ruth, there's the time of darkness where we have the threshing floor scene. That represents the tribulation, as can be seen in these comparisons. The book of Ruth draws some amazing parallels. The unnamed servant introduces Ruth to Boaz, just as the unnamed servant, the Ruach HaKodesh, introduces the called out ones to Yeshua. And then after being exiled, Naomi, a widow, learns of Boaz from Ruth and is returned from exile to her homeland by the acts of Boaz, just as Israel, Yahweh's widow, who has been exiled for thousands of years, learns of Yeshua from the called out ones and is finally relieved from exile and returned to her homeland as prophesied by the acts of Yeshua. And lastly, during the threshing floor scene, Ruth is seen at the feet of Boaz, just as during the tribulation, the called out ones are in the Shamayim, heaven, with Yeshua. So, if you want to do something this weekend in remembrance of Pentecost, sit down with your loved ones and read the book of Ruth. Pentecost is a feast which commemorates the descent of the Ruach HaKodesh upon the apostles and other followers of Yeshua. And for this reason, Pentecost is often described as the birthday of the called out ones, the church. There were 120 followers in all, including the 12 apostles, that is, the 11 faithful disciples, Yeshua's Talmudim, and Matthias, who was Judas's replacement. Now, Yeshua's mother Mary and various other women disciples, as well as Yeshua's brothers, were there, as described in Acts chapter 2, verses 1 through 31. Acts chapter 2, verses 1 through 6 reads, "And when the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all assembled together in one place, when suddenly there came a sound from the Shamayim, the heavens, like the rushing of a violent tempest, blast, and it filled the whole house in which they were sitting. And there appeared to them tongues resembling fire, which were separated and distributed, and which settled on each one of them. And they were all filled, diffused throughout their souls, their living experience, with the Ruach HaKodesh, and began to speak in other different foreign languages." Now that passage right there is not talking about speaking in tongues. They were talking in earthly languages, many of them, as the Ruach kept giving them clear and loud expression in each language in appropriate words. Now, there were then residing in Jerusalem Jews, devout and Elohim-fearing men from every country under the Shamayim. And when this sound was heard, the multitude came together, and they were astonished and bewildered, because each one heard the apostles speaking in their own particular language or dialect. Now, while those on whom the Ruach had descended were speaking in these many languages, Kepha, that is Peter, stood up with the 11 and proclaimed to the crowd that this event was the fulfillment of the prophecy found through Joel, that is Yoel, chapter 2, verses 28 and 29, which reads, Yahweh speaking, I will pour out my Ruach upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Even upon the men servants and upon the maid servants in those days I will pour out my Ruach. And in Acts chapter 2, verse 17, we read, And in the last days Elohim says, I will pour out my spirit upon every sort of flesh, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy, and your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. Kepha stated that this event was the beginning of a continual outpouring that would be available to all believers from that point forward, Jews and Gentiles, believers alike. So once again, Pentecost, Yahweh's fourth spring Moed, begins at sunset tomorrow, Saturday, May 23rd, and will end at sunset on Monday, May 25th. And that's just a quick little reminder for you, my friends, that this weekend, let's all remember Yahweh's Kodesh prophecies and his Kodesh appointments with the world. I'll see you here for the news on Tuesday next week, and another word study on Thursday. Until then, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.